Hey, cool cats and chickadees. This is Matt over here at the Overmoncast station where we're playing your favorite spooky hits all Halloween long. Coming up next, we've got PTSD Radio by Masaaki Nakayama. We're going to read volumes 1 through 2 and talk about some frights and bumps in the night. Enjoy.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Overmanga Cast. My name is Sam, and as always, here at the top of the show, we talk about our familiarity with the franchise we read this week. Well, you see, I first got into radio broadcasting in college when I joined the...
No, the manga we read.
Oh.
No, actually, I thought this was a therapy session about Sam's love-hate relationship with radio.
Listen, I had a great show on WBUQ, that's all I'm saying. But yeah, no, I have not heard of PTSD Radio. It popped up on our search for things to read this spooky season, so this is fresh for me. How about you, Jacob?
Nope, never heard of it. Surprising how little, really good spooky manga there are, frankly.
Really surprising how hard it is to find genuinely spooky manga when you look up horror manga and are told Chainsaw Man is one of the best horror manga.
Which is a choice.
It is, listen, horror
It's
is all about...
objectively wrong. Like,
Horror is all about disempowerment, and while Denji is never exactly in control, he's not disempowered, but whatever. Anyway, Matt, how about you? What's your familiarity with PTSD Radio?
absolutely nothing. This was a clean read for me. I believe I'm the one who picked it off the list, though, because I believe the blurb I saw just said it was very Uzumaki flavored. And I'm like, ooh, we loved Uzumaki when we read it. Now that we've read it, that is a terrible way to describe this series. Because it's nothing like it, except in like a vague same kind of area of horror, but like
In a vibes way.
in the same way a pie is a cake. Like,
Yeah.
sure, but no. A cheesecake maybe is a type of pie, kind of.
It's like they're both pastries, but they're still... You wouldn't pass one off for somebody's birthday.
You wouldn't slam someone's face in one... Wait, no. Yep. You do both of those things.
Crazy birthdays you're going to.
So yeah, we open up with this, with actually just a really great opening taste of what this manga is all about, because it is a young girl in a rural town getting a haircut and crying about it.
And that's it.
That's it. That's all of it. Just her grandma says that just deal with it. We have to cut it now. I went through the same thing that you did. Don't worry. At which point I'm like,
I like it because like kids cry over getting their haircut all the time, but like the framing of this is something that's just diabolical and dreadful, and
it's like it'll bleed. Like that's what it feels like. It like there's something about cutting her hair that is akin to like cutting her ear off.
mm-hmm.
Like is the way that it feels.
Especially because grandma's like, don't worry, I went through the same thing. It doesn't have the energy of like comforting a child by telling them that, oh, this is just a normal thing that happens. Don't worry about it. It's like, no, I went through this same pain and I survived. You'll be okay.
Yeah, it masterfully frames something so completely normal and mundane as like, okay, where is this going? What's going to happen next? What do you mean it's a blank page? What do you mean it's just a black page of nothing and there's no more context? What
do you mean there's a second black page? Because that's another thing is like there are always two interstitial pages. There's one black page that has like lyrics or something. I never really figured out what it was. I almost think it's like just weird radio chatter you get while switching stations, maybe, is the idea. They always seem like vaguely thematically appropriate, but never
quite
entirely. So, but then the other one is just a regular black page that definitely did not become the subject of my dread the entire reading.
It's fine. Nothing bad is going to happen.
Nothing bad can happen in between the chapters.
Definitely not. When we open up on the next one with, we're in the city now. Okay, there's guys up on a roof. One of them's having fear of heights. Pretty standard. You know, I'm scared of heights too, man. It's like if you fall, then you'll die. That's kind of scary. No, you don't understand. My fear is that something's going to pull me down.
Like, they start talking about the Call of the Void at first.
Yeah, the instinct that tells you to touch the glowing piece of metal just to see what happens. And it's like, oh, so just, standard Call of the Void, things that happen to everybody. Page turn, hands? Question mark?
Face, possibly at least 2 heads.
Weird shadow hands trying to kill you.
Oh god, there is a face in there. I didn't even notice that. I just noticed the hands and the hair.
Yeah, I saw the face the first time. I didn't notice the hair the first time, but gotta have that hair.
Hair everywhere. No time to think about that. Time to get on a train where a lady is reading a magazine and kind of dozing off and stretching.
She's a bald lady reflected next to her.
Yeah. A bald lady reflected next to her, which doesn't make sense because she's the only person in that row of seats. So that's unsettling by itself. The bald woman turns completely on her own accord, and then the lady's hair starts getting pulled between the seats or into the darkness. I don't know which. And then
the space between the seats looks like a mouth. Like,
yeah. And then the bald face, I don't like that. I gotta say, this manga has absolutely tremendous, just grotesque monster faces in it.
This manga is probably legitimately the only time I've been reading a horror manga and got jump scared. Like watching a movie level of jump scared, just be like, what the fuck is that?
No, I don't like any of that. Because faces don't wrinkle like that. Tongues aren't that big.
Where are your teeth?
Where are your teeth? Why are your eyes like that? But no, the channel changes again, and we can't think about it because Subway,
Eat fresh.
No, not that Subway.
Oh.
I mean, yes, but this Subway does eat fresh.
and this is where I still thought that it was just like disconnected vignettes, because it's a lady on, a platform waiting for a train. She sees a humanoid figure on the rails, and she's like, "Oh crap! Is somebody committing, suicide by train? Is he dead? Wait, why is nobody freaking out?"
Nobody reacted at all.
Nobody reacted at all. What's going on? The train door opens, and she sees the silhouette phased through the floor of the train. And she is so paralyzed by fear, she refuses to get on the train as people just file past her. And then the shadow figure grabs onto the legs of a passenger.
And it is hair and eyes and fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
I wonder what's going to happen to those passengers.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, this is just a bunch of disconnected vignettes. Because I didn't pick up that it was hair straight away. I thought it was just a shadow monster.
Yeah, I'm mentioning it being hair in retrospect.
Yeah, the texture work is very good. You can see the fibers coming off of it. But if you're just, reading through it at a normal pace, you're like, what the okay, Shadow Beast, cool.
What connections any of them do or don't have isn't apparent. Frankly, it's still not apparent, and I've done all of the reading, so
The first real connection that came to me was, I think, the point where it's supposed to be honest, in the 5th channel change, where we have the young girl getting her hair cut, her head's entirely shaved bald, she's crying, and, oh, it's that woman who's getting her hair pulled in the subway. Oh, why was she seeing an aged up version of her own bald self twisted in the mirror or in the window?
Now we learn that she has to get her hair cut again at 2 more ages that she can't remember.
Why didn't I listen to grandmother when she told me the exact ages to get my hair cut?
Everything else in the memory is so vivid, and only the numbers of those ages are blanked out. But I'm sure it's no problem at all. Oh god, the interstitial page has a
The
it's
hair part was
that that wigged me out, dude. Pardon the pun.
I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
that,
no, that's not a black screen, that's hair. Stop. I so like here's a good enough spot as any. Uzumaki is all about spirals and it's creepy, but it's in like a kind of Halloweeny type creepy where you're like, ah, yes, we have gone off the beaten path of what is reality and we are now in a weird twilight zone. This manga just wants to give me a fear of hair.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
Which, as a guy with long hair, I don't appreciate. I like my hair, manga. Don't freak me out about it.
Too bad.
but hair is a form of life.
No, hair is dead tissue that we that we prim and primp up to pretend that it's
Debatable.
alive.
Debatable.
Indeed.
I get Dirtman vibes at this point. Keep a little hair and fill it for the hair man.
I
The
mean,
hair
yes,
god.
yeah, we do just find out they call the hair god Mr. Hair. Like, you two live further out in the country than I do, but this next this next chapter that's literally the guy going out to smoke in the middle of nowhere because he's here visiting family or something.
Yeah, and
He's
it's like the same rural village as the girl who got her hair cut.
yeah. So he's visiting his grandparents and he's just like, "Hey, is there a place that sells cigarettes, blah blah blah." And then he gets his fix and then he's walking out and it's just completely pitch black and it's like just unnerving. Like you can't see any lights. There's no like sign of humanity, and he's in complete dark. And it's like the sun has not even set yet. It's in that like kind of weird. You're in a valley, so it is completely dark where you are, but you can still see over the valley. There's
See
light.
like the oranges and reds of the setting sun, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just him lighting up a cigarette, and there is just a dude watching him, and he is unaware of it. And I'm like, "Fuck you, manga! Just fuck you."
yeah. No.
See, this is why when I went on my walks, I went for hills rather than valleys in this type of area.
There is no dark quite like rural dark. And before Jake actually moved into town, there's a reason I didn't like staying at his place.
Yep. I lived on the side of a mountain.
Ugh.
The darkest dark.
I really appreciated that one just because I have a real affinity for stuff like that. That's sort of like atavistic nighttime in the woods sort of terror. I don't know why. That just appeals to me. So I really enjoyed that little scene.
That one's really good too because it's so short, but it encapsulates that specific fear just so succinctly, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's just like, hey, isn't it really fucking creepy that you have no idea what's actually around you because it's so dark? Yep, that's it. Like,
You city slickers not adjusted to that type of darkness. I could count every deer, bear, and coyote and wolf in those woods. All the mountain lions, all of the.
You knew them all by name.
Could count each of their toes.
And then here's a fear that I thought I had grown past: drowning in the bathtub by having somebody hold your head underwater.
that is kind of interesting how a lot of like the little vignettes here are kind of structured around like childhood fears made like realized.
Mm-hmm.
Via hair.
Yeah, I mean, really just, yeah.
It opens up with a woman in the bath, and suddenly her hair is grabbed and she's yanked underwater. And that's not going to end well. But before you can think about it too much, because that's kind of the running theme of this, with how quickly the scene shifts, we are on a busy street in the city where a guy sees a lady and rushes off away from his friends. And she's like, "What?" And they're like, "Dude, why are you running after your ex? You just randomly saw her."
Yeah, Sam, hold on. This is Keita. He is one of two named characters in our reading.
yeah, he's one of the only actual guys.
Yeah, and this incidentally is the same like air quotes frequency as the bathtub drowning.
Yes.
Yeah, it shifts perspective and does a time skip, but maintains the same frequency, which is a little interesting.
Yeah. And it breaks the framing device that the manga's been using so far. So you got to wonder what's the connection here. And Keita ran up to a woman who is shaved entirely bald. Gee, I wonder.
Shifuya.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is interesting. This woman is wearing like a big dark coat and a baseball cap that completely shadows her eyes. Amazing that he's able to recognize her from across a crowded station. Like,
She did all of the things to appear unrecognizable, and he noticed her still. Damn, man.
And she looks so different from how she was when he last saw her too.
the big thing about Keita is this is his ex-girlfriend from a recent breakup, but he is already dating someone else because we don't find out in this chapter, but subsequent chapters, Keita's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he is. He's a bit of a fuck boy because he's just not at all a good partner. They sit down to have some coffee, and he's thinking about how did she do this because of our breakup? And she's like, "Oh no, don't worry, I didn't do this because of the breakup."
Why do guys always think they're responsible for everything about women? And that's a line, except that line is objectively untrue because like she says this isn't about him. And that's true. But then says it is about him because like her whole thing is she's been harassed by this entity because spoiler alert, she might be the woman who was drowned in the beginning. That's probably true.
She might be the woman who was drowned in the beginning. She might be the little girl from the beginning. She might be the one on the train. All of those are maybes. I don't know for sure.
So she's not the little girl who has to cut her hair. That I know because that spoiler
She's
alert.
Definitely not. Okay.
Yeah, that spoiler alert. There's a scene later that is all about that, and that was me going like, that's not the same woman, but they look so fucking similar.
Okay, yeah, I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also missed that. Not gonna lie.
Well, because her whole thing is she's cut her hair because some malevolent entity is pulling her hair and like trying to kill her. And she's just like, hold on. Yeah, no, this started with you. So, as part of our breakup, whatever you cursed me with, I am giving back everything you gave to me. And like her face just contorts. And she's doing this because she'd been telling him constantly, hey, every time you leave the house, someone pulls my hair and tries to kill me. And his response was, yeah, whatever. You chicks are always crazy. Hey, why do you keep cutting your hair short? You look like a dude.
Which, like, okay, bro.
What a charmer.
Cutting her hair shorter and shorter. And he broke up with her because he was unattracted to the new haircut. And then she cut it completely off and like goes, the only way I'm getting rid of this is giving it back to you. And her face just contorts and misshapes. And like
it's so weird. It looks like fingers are crushing her scalp from like 5 directions.
And like she just starts smiling after doing that. And she's like, well, weight is off my shoulders. I feel great. Hey,
I thought I'd feel guilty. I feel fine.
And it's like that meeting she had with him was just like, hey, I know we broke up because I was going through some stuff and probably wasn't a great. You're a piece of shit, but like I can understand I was in a bad headspace and that wasn't conducive to you being your best self. Maybe it's on me. She has the one fucking conversation with him. Nope, you're still a piece of shit. I don't feel bad about this at all. Have your demon.
I've purged all my regrets. Bye, loser.
Oh, yeah, and it turns out that he goes to his girlfriend's house, who he's like, he literally comes over to watch her make dinner, I guess. Well, he watches TV.
Well, she makes dinner, yeah.
which she's not happy about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then unfortunately,
You know,
as he's over there, someone keeps pulling her hair and he gets kicked out.
yeah, like this, I really like this because if we had just started from this point in the reading, it would have been like, man, he's dating a real nag, isn't he? But no, we've had the context of his previous relationship based on the meeting in the cafe. So no, I think he's just so aggravating that she's become like this.
She's just like, hey, I know we've been dating for a little bit. I need you to do something. Like,
Literally anything.
like
hmm
if you're just gonna come over for me to make you dinner,
I'm not your child.
I, we're also not married, so like you're expecting a higher level of relationship here that has a whole bunch of other things coming with it that aren't like
Mhm.
because he's just 100% housewife's this girlfriend, which is
Pretty
a different
cringe.
situation entirely. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
so he gets kicked out, and she immediately gets attacked by the ghost because like Keita's entire response to hearing his girlfriend scream after kicking him out is just like, "Don't tell me she cursed me." Dang, I got off easy.
Stellar
Oh,
guy.
absolutely stand up, dude.
This next like frequency is probably like the one that hit me the hardest for like existential horror.
Yeah, this one was pretty solid.
Because like it's essentially just a bunch of kids bullying the new kid, and they're bullying him by forcing him to get a haircut. So they're gonna like pick up his hair.
Mhm.
And step too far. Shouldn't have done that. Hair has magic powers in this universe. You really shouldn't have done that, because just doing that caused him to react in such a way. His face contorts and he punches the guy who was going to give him the haircut, but doesn't punch him. Punches the ground so hard his bones in his hand snap and break and are pulverized into like a fleshy pulp. And you're like, what
Mhm.
is wrong with him? And then he just kind of gets up and looks, and like everyone's like, what on earth? And he just walks away. And like everyone else is reacting, but the main antagonizer is frozen in place. And like
He is locked down.
And everyone's just like, whoa, man, yeah, that guy was a freak. I mean, get over it. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And they leave him, and he's still standing there. And you're like, what's going on? And then it gets a full panel shot of you see his shadow has had the entire left hemisphere of his head smashed in.
Yeah,
Not him. It is his
His
shadow.
shadow.
his shadow looks like it got headshot. And I love how it's juxtaposed against like a maintenance port opening for like the underground pipes. Oh, it is such a grisly image. And it
And then page turn from that, the
the
like
deep of night.
He's
and like the thing that's even more horrifying for me, I can't move.
no,
Uh-huh.
like the animating force of his body, like his very soul was killed. Like his shadow or whatever that represents was killed because it completely smashed through the
Mhm.
head. And through that, he no longer has the ability to move. And like the second it gets night, he's stuck there and he can just see these shadows crawling out of different things. And they start picking at the like corpse that is his own shadow. And he just has to look in horror as he is consumed. Like, what the fuck? Just what the fuck?
What does this even mean? And oh god, it's so hideous. And then you page turn and oh hey, guess what? The interstitial black page is there's two eyes in there now. Bangs? Ah,
It's fine.
it's not fine.
And the chapter cover of the next thing too is like a similar thing of a shadow down a road, but then a blood splatter coming off the head. Like,
Uh-huh.
oh my god, I love it. I love it so much.
But this is where we get our first like major time shift. And by time shift, I mean we're jumping back several eras. Like pre-Meiji Restoration, or maybe like at the
I think
beginning of
this
that.
is Meiji Restoration because the one like little kid is wearing a soldier's hat.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So it's like during that time period, where it's a bunch of little kids out in the forest, and it's like, yeah, crows love shiny things, so let's knock down this crow's nest and loot their treasures. Oh, why is there a
Oh,
big
god
heavy?
damn it, it's a crow's nest.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
On the Jeez, the reread of going through this for notes is already connecting dots. Damn it.
The other thing that, as I was reading this, like, man, the nest is heavy. What's in the nest up there? It's a head. And then, like, they tip it over and a box comes out. It's like,
a head.
okay, it's a box, but I'm pretty sure there's a head in the box.
And they open up the box, and some dark tactile force. Its hair spills out. It's exceptionally creepy head. It looks like something Sid would have in frickin' Toy Story.
It really do be.
I do like the little like radio chatter we get for this one is the elder born last night.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but that's
I
some
don't
Dark
know.
that's some Dark Souls Elden Ring level vague creepy nonsense. What the mean loathsome dung eater?
What does Mother of Fingers even mean?
Oh, I think that's the alternate gendered universe of Jujutsu Kaisen.
Once again, don't get too comfortable. Time for another one. Hey, let's go back to modern day. You remember that weird kid who went and got the Deku fingers from punching a guy so hard? Guess what he's doing now? He's covering entire floors of his school in cryptic scrawl.
Different weird kid.
Yeah, it's a different weird kid.
It is? I thought
Yes.
it was
Yep.
the same weird kid.
Nope. Different guy.
Oh no. He's got the same, like, face. Huh.
No, I think
He's got different hair.
He's got different nose too. Like this guy's whole thing is he's got like a giant nose.
And he's been writing The Hair God is Coming.
Yes. Just really, really impressive because he's covering every surface of the entire floor of his school.
What the hell does a Gushi-sama mean? Yeah, it's and like the whole thing is like the teacher chastising him is this. It's like the kid just finally goes, What do you mean a Gushi-sama?" Which is the thing he's written over every square inch of the school. He does not remember doing that.
Yeah.
That's fine. This is normal.
It's entirely normal that he doesn't remember doing this monomaniacal thing.
Yeah, and because we can never have things in order, it turns out that little bit there of Agushi-sama is coming is interstitially woven in between the two backstory bits about the three boys who uncovered the box full of demon hair and unleashed that hair into the world.
Uh-huh.
And they're just being followed by an evil doll. Like, that's it. And we don't hear from them, so I presume they died.
Probably horribly. Which is made apparent by the fact that the interstitial hair face is getting more twisted by the frickin' chapter.
I hate it so much.
It's so grisly, dude.
Making a very pleasant face.
And
just wants you to be comfortable.
I love the next one because it's so like weird and Fantasia. It's just a hyper detailed forest. And it's just there's this one tree in the middle of the forest that has one of those little like curse mark dolls made of straw and stuff with like the nail through it. Our girl from Jujutsu Kaisen uses them all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like it's like, oh yeah, I know that's like one of those little voodoo doll things basically. And it rips itself up like nail through the chest out, comes down, walks on its like legs as a
Little
person.
teeny legs.
It gains a like covering to disguise itself as a human being. It pulls out the nail and becomes even more human as it just looks out across the rice paddy at the city, at the village, and you're like, and then it just ends. Like that is the ending. It's just like looking at the village, and then you turn and the fucking face is eating you.
Yeah. Oh, I hate it. It's so good. It's so scary, but I love it.
Yeah, and like you're like, oh man, that's awful. What is this? And then like the next thing is them just switching viewpoints to inside that village at night. One of the mom is telling her son, "Yeah, no, we put these like old school shears
Mm-hmm.
that like grandma would use to cut your hair on the door." Like, why do we do that, mom? To prevent evil spirits. Also, don't open the door for any reason. And you're like, what? And then the door just has someone battering on it all night long and rattling. And then they wake up the next day to just see that the inside of the door, the shears are covered in hair. And the mom and son just looking on in horror.
Well, there's like resignation on the mom's face, like, yep, that's still happening.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
I've not found a way to fix this and stop this from happening, so I guess this is my life now.
Yeah,
It's-
because the floor is covered in cut hair. Because clearly the monster was trying to reach hair under the door to open it, but the shears were just cutting the hair somehow. But like magic, it doesn't need to, like, whatever, but like insane. And it's just
Mhm.
the mom praying, Agushi-sama, pray sever. By your will be severed and take leave. And it's like, she's doing
Please
this,
go away.
and she's doing this prayer that is like, please go away, evil spirit. And that's really creepy. And it gets so much creepier in retrospect when every other person who says this prayer is praying for Agushi-sama to pull you closer. Like, what the
Uh-huh. Why are you asking for that? Why do you want the hair god to bring you in? Ugh.
Just insane. The next one is equally creepy. It's a weird flashback of this kid waking up in his family home to see a line of hair pulling through the hallway and a human-shaped lump coming through from his grandfather's room. And
I loved this one because he steps outside, he sees that, he's like, oh, that ain't right. Oh, it's going towards Grandpa's room. Oh God.
this is so great because, like, the way this is paneled, I could see this being filmed so cinematically. Like, you'd have
Same.
the scene of it pulling and like that sound of hair across a wooden floor, and then just the sickening thump of boom, 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 of like a
As the
body coming down the stairs.
Yeah,
Oh.
dude.
And like, this kid is terrified because that's his grandpa. So he just jumps onto it and reaches it. And like, that causes the hair to snap and like fizzle away. And there's a like scream from the inside of the room. And like, all he knows is that he heard his grandfather's voice. And we cut a bunch of years in the future. He's come back home and like, he just looks inside his grandfather's room and he's just like, I don't know what I did last night, but I should have let the monster take him because where he exists now, he is neither alive nor dead. And what
It's
I have done has hurt him so much more.
it's just his ghost kneeling there, a shadow staring at the wall. And I'm like, what do you mean? Is the hair god a benevolent psychopomp or what?
The hair god is the hair god.
Yeah, it is up to humans to ascribe morality to the divine.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Oh,
Good thing
yeah, and
the in between chapter stings aren't still creepy.
this one's just the full teeth. I hate it.
It's just teeth, dude.
I mean,
It's just the mouth coming to eat you.
I do love this because the next chapter really encapsulates one thing I really like about this, is really good for a horror manga. When it does its lore drops, which this chapter is objectively just kind of like a little bit of a lore drop, it doesn't make you feel better. It just gives you new layers for how horrifying everything is.
This answered none of the questions I had and raises several more that are even more horrifying.
They're just like, hey, my mom died, so they're putting her in a barrel and they've cut off all her hair. And they're like, hey, why do you do that? So we can seal it in a box and offer it to this weird penis statue god.
As you do.
So that the god will take the hair and use it to pull your mother to her proper resting space. That is the way the people of our valley have done it for all times. No one other than a god should open this box.
And hey, that box looks awfully familiar. Oh,
Uh-huh.
it's the box those kids took out of the tree.
Yeah.
Oh
And like
no.
the people of this valley then do the prayer at the end, which is Ogushi-sama pray Paul, which is the opposite of what that woman was saying. And it's just the concept of this is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if somebody else opens the box? I wonder if anyone actually would. Anyway, stupid kids years later.
Yeah, and then we get the stairs that just cause people to freeze in their tracks occasionally.
I think one of the weird penis statues is like hidden in the area.
So
So
I
that
think
might be time warp nonsense that I
I
missed
I
out.
think the time has moved on, and that is where the god resides now. Like the area's been developed.
Yeah.
Someone gets stuck on the steps, and then these like weird hands come out and take them away, and that's like an urban legend. And like
Mhm.
the moms are too afraid to go down the stairs to get their kids, so they're like, "Nah, come up the stairs to us." But the boys are playing in the little like
In the
uh
grass.
grass to the side, and we see the weird god statue, except it's clearly decayed or like been damaged in some way. And you're
Uh-huh.
like, what is
Why
going
is
on?
why's it got that dent in it? What happened?
Oh,
More teeth.
more
I,
teeth
d- I love how it's just the teeth getting closer.
because you're being swallowed. Like,
The lone deity swarms.
and like this is the one where they remind you of the previous chapter because this is intrinsically linked.
Mm-hmm.
I think because it's very important that you know this guy is the same character, whereas every other chapter it's just a bonus if you recognize someone's the same character.
Yeah, but this is the one who got the who got the
Got
full
his
Deku
soul eaten.
hand.
Got his soul eaten essentially
Yeah.
because he was found comatose on the ground and he is now in the hospital carving Ogushi-sama is coming repeatedly. Like, and they also find out that the kid who smashed his hand into a pulp got transferred. And they're like, didn't he just transfer to our school? Yeah, it turns out he was bullied by some kids at his other school. And there was also a weird comatose guy in that school just writing notes on everything.
Huh.
This is normal.
And they're like, well, I hope he doesn't hold a grudge against us. We didn't really do anything.
We were just kind of there, right? Right, fellas?
We see the bullied kid.
Yeah, the bullied kid finding the hair god's idol.
And it turns out he's been worshiping there. And then the hands come out to grasp him.
Yeah.
And
In my embrace of hair or something.
and then, like, legitimately, the chapter that gave me the jump scare was this one that is the very ending of volume 1, where it's just the guy going like, my girlfriend is kind of cute. I've got no complaints about her. Except for one thing. Every night. And then it's just a 2-page spread of her eyes.
Yeah, her eyes just straight up right against you. Like, no iris, all pupil, just staring right at him.
Why is she staring at me? What is she looking at? And that is the full little bit. And I'm like, that is way too effective for what it is.
Yeah.
Ugh. To be continued in volume 2, which, you know, we made it halfway through our reading. I think we all deserve a break.
Yeah. Good place to take a break here.
I don't have a bit. Go away.
We'll be right back. And welcome back to the show, folks, where last we left whatever the fuck this is.
We get a lore vignette this time.
Hair, faces and hair staring in your sleep. Terror lurking right over your shoulder.
Like pulling one's hair out, using a single strand of someone's hair to pray for their affections, cutting one's hair out of heartbreak, taking hair of the deceased as a memento. Could there be a common thread among these things?
A
It's
common hair?
What?
Yes, hair is the common thread.
Yeah. And it's like they're offering a box labeled by this guy's son, and they're like, "Hey, bring his soul back so he can reside with his ancestors." And like that's fine on its own, except every other indication is that this thing is some kind of demon. And then we get the priestess who essentially just says, "To malevolent gods, there are no such thing as right or wrong. All that exists is the thirst, one that can only be quenched through sacrifice." And we see her making the evil doll that turned into a person. Oh
Right
god, and
call.
yep, and she's got the same face as we see later on. It's so much just keeps going round and round.
Like it's circling a drain, or curly
Like
bit of hair.
yeah, like hair circling the drain. Oh, I don't want to see the one about a shower clog.
Oh
Oh,
God.
Look, all I can say is I am happy we are free of that evil monster that was eating us last time.
We have a scene of a soldier returning home after. Well, actually, pretty sure it's World War II, considering the radio broadcast happening in the background.
Yeah, it's definitely World War II.
Considering we see a firebombed Japanese city, pretty
Yeah.
clear.
Yep. Unfortunately, his comrade died so suddenly and so swiftly that there was nothing to bring back. So he went to a barber and got a whole bunch of cut hair to make as a false memento of this fallen soldier to give back to his family.
And eagle-eyed readers will notice this is the family who offered that box to that evil spirit god previously.
Yep.
I'm sure that's fine.
I guess it doesn't matter because they then do just tell you it's them. But
To malevolent gods, there is no such thing as good or evil. All that exists, all they desire is.
and like the fact that that doll was made with the hair from this box that doesn't belong to
The soldier
it
for
belongs
whose
to
grave it is.
it belongs to someone in town.
Yep. And it belongs to several someones in town because it was just the random hair clippings that had been swept up off of the floor of the barber shop. So maybe this is why the hair god is going after so many different people.
Maybe.
It's all connected, man.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the fucking teeth are back. I hate it.
I hate the teeth. I don't like them. I don't like them one bit.
You just have to become one with the teeth. It's fine.
I would prefer not to. Ugh, more twisted faces, more people being stared at in their sleep. I really like this next one because, dude's freaking out. Somebody's staring at him through his window as he's trying to sleep. He's trying to tell his friend about it. He's like, dude, somebody is staring at me in my sleep. I don't know what the problem is. It's a hot girl. Maybe she's your stalker and you can get lucky. I live on the 3rd floor.
Is this Keita or is this dude just shop at the same store as him? I'm not.
He might just look like
100% sure.
Keita. I don't know.
He looks a lot like Keita, yeah. But this one felt the most, I don't know, it's kind of funny because, his friend is just like, I don't know, it's a hot girl, maybe you could get with her. I live on the 3rd floor. So what if it's a ghost? It's a hot girl, maybe you could get with her. How about you talk to her yourself? Points out window, shows twisted face of ghost. That one was kind of funny, even if the ghost's visage is horrific.
It's kind of funny. It's a kind of silly horrific, I guess, is the other thing.
Yeah.
The whammy panel is kind of just like, oh, that's kind of weird.
That don't look right at all.
And then the teeth have now formed into luscious lips, and I'm like, ooh, hold on. Maybe I spoke too soon.
Maybe the teeth ain't so
See?
bad.
Well, no, the teeth are always bad, but if you can just avoid them, it is generally pretty good.
Are you saying you can fix her, Matt?
I'm saying I don't want to fix her. If anything, I want to make her worse.
Well, first we must learn about the birds.
Alfred Hitchcock, except the birds are made out of hair, is really what this one's about. Like,
What's said about crows here is true. They will actually do this. Like
yeah,
like if you yeet a rock at a crow, they will like remember you forever and will dog you and peck at you and steal your stuff and just be jerks.
We had a fruit tree in our backyard for a bit, and the crows had learned that we do not eat that fruit, and they can have it. We don't care. And they would eat that fruit and leave our trash cans alone, and immediately go ruin all the neighbors' trash cans. And they really
Amazing.
learned the wrong lesson from that. But
But yeah,
Ugh.
guy doesn't heed the lesson and eats a stone and a crow that ruins his trash.
and then it becomes like an insane number of crows are following him around until one day he realizes they aren't crows. They're hair in the shape of crows filled with eyes.
So many eyes.
And
But
then the
Hitchcock gets Lovecraft.
especially because the radio chatter for this one is closed eyes stare into each other.
Yeah. What does that even mean, dude?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Sam,
Yes,
our
bro.
interstitial page is a sexy lady.
It is a sexy lady. It's a very pretty face.
Ooh.
Her eyes are closed. Maybe we should stare into them.
This next one's just silly. Like it's
Yeah, it's very puerile ghost story sort of,
like
because
she's just studying at a desk by herself, and her friends go, "Get away from there." Why? And then, did you not see? Look at your desk, huh? And then whammy panel. Oh,
whammy panel. It's quite the whammy panel. The bro needs to see a dentist.
yeah. And you're like, oh, this guy's just like got his forehead pressed up against the desk, his hands on top of the desk. It's like, is he just looking under the desk? Is he a creep? Nope, he is just made of teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Unpleasant.
Exceedingly unpleasant to look at.
No explanation for that one, just pretty lady. And then in my favorite like transition from this like interstitial scene, it is the exact same face in bed.
Yep. Which tells you that this pretty lady is one of the characters. She is scared that something is happening again as a figure looms out of the darkness, chasing her, screaming. Naturally hair covering its features as it claws for her in some sort of mad terror.
Mm-hmm. And
She's telling her friends about this.
yeah, and how it's so weird. It's a stranger wearing my grandmother's clothes. Are you sure it's not your grandmother? No.
It couldn't possibly be. My grandmother was a sweet old woman. There would be no reason for her to haunt me. It's not like I forgot something important as she's lying in her apartment. She turns to look at the photo, and it's the same old lady from the first chapter.
Mm-hmm. Also, I don't want to call bullshit, but sure is weird that she vaguely remembers going to her grandmother's funeral, but vividly remembers her grandmother's clothes. Like, I guess I went to her funeral. I guess the fact that she's just got her like funerary portrait on the wall is another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm conflating characters that aren't the same person.
Yeah, but this is the little girl from the first one who got her hair cut.
Yep.
And doesn't remember when she was supposed to get it cut again. So either this is her grandma's ghost come to be like, it's time to visit the barber, or just some other hideous demon.
No, and then we find out that it is a human shape in the like vague shape of her grandmother wearing her grandmother's clothes. But then when it like peers to it, it is a human skin wrapped around hair.
Yeah.
Like bulging hair too. Like it is coming out of the eye sockets and like
The mouth.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
It's so hideous.
It's totally fine.
I also hate that the person with like really messed up hair and a pale white face and no nose and like an old lady's clothes looks so much like Michael Jackson.
Hee.
The true horror all along. The moonwalk.
It
Oh, no.
engulfs a charcoal cluster star, which is the most Lovecraft shit I've ever heard in my life.
And then she's opening her eyes.
Yep.
And then we get like the furthest back we've ever jumped.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
one of the longest chapters too.
I think this is 2 chapters in a row.
It might be.
I believe so as well. It's back in the feudal era. where it's a bunch of people crowded around a gate, and they're like, whoa, so weird, so creepy. Who left a door here? Cut to full page picture of a very disturbing image.
A door.
It sure is a door, and it sure does have a drawing on it with wide ass eyes, no mouth, must scream.
Elongated.
Hey, yeah, no, this thing's definitely cursed. Hey, you men, go take it away somewhere. We can't do that. Oh, you little babies afraid? Fine, we'll deal with it. Cut to later that night. Some men are patrolling around in the pouring rain.
They're like firefighters or something and are just like, why are we doing fire patrol? There is so much rain. Nothing could possibly catch a light. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one dude is exercising the soldier's sacred right to complain very thoroughly. They arrive at a longhouse. They send out the next shift, who are all drunk on sake, and they go to sit around a fire, warm up, dry off, and tell ghost stories in the dark and stormy night. and age-old.
Not even really ghost stories, just like swapping regular old stories.
that is a little bit of bullshit because they do introduce it as like, let's tell ghost stories. And then they proceed to just tell like town gossip about some prostitute. And only at the very end does someone go like, but that person was killed. So it was a ghost story. I'm like, but you initiated this by it being a ghost story. So how is this a surprise to you?
Mm-hmm.
They basically tell 3 different versions of a tragic love story of a disgraced samurai and a prostitute whom he claims he'll buy the freedom of.
Mm-hmm. I also love how the prostitute's fine. The disgraced samurai gets less and less honorable through each separate story that they then find out are all connected because they're the same people.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's originally a samurai who, and I don't want to say this too loud, but he was bad with his money, so he dumped it all on seeing this prostitute. And oh, isn't it so tragic? Huh, I heard it was a wandering ronin who was a real rakish individual that got kicked out of brothels for eating free off of his good looks, where the women paid for his own passage. Oh, but I heard that it was some violent maniac who promised a girl to buy out her contract for freedom and then tested his sword out on her.
I love the one guy who's just like, yeah, I heard my story from this prostitute I was banging pretty steady for several years. But she'd always talk about how there was some guy willing to buy her out so that she didn't have to be in this prostitute life. And I'm like, hey, I'm paying you right now, and you're making me seem like I'm some kind of bad guy. What's that about? Turns out, next day, winds up dead because that guy skipped town on her. Jeez. I feel a little bad because, we had sex, but like, dodged a bullet there whenever bullets are invented.
Yeah, they're not great guys. But it's around here where they're all like, wait, it's all the same brothel. That's all the same brothel that we've been telling these stories about.
The door.
The door. And then I love the page of them all just sitting in a quiet circle as the fire they're around slowly dies out and the rain stops. And they're left there in the darkness going like, the last shift should have been back by now. It's far too late at night. And there's the subtle implication of, well, someone's got to go check on them, and none of them want to be the guy to say it. Until the door slams open and another person goes, guys, we found a body. We need help.
Kids want to see a dead body?
It's by the door. What do you mean the door? The creepy door. Oh, shit.
What makes it so creepy? Some guy stabbed himself through the door. That doesn't seem physically possible. It's not.
It's not, but he went and seppuku'd so hard that he is now pinned to the door and positioned in such a way that it looks like the figure of the screaming woman painted on the door is biting his top knot.
And then
I'm sure it's fine.
And then just to hammer it home, we see that the expression on that woman has changed to one of like fiendish delight as she is consuming his hair.
Uh-huh. Where before it was sort of this like twisted fear. Now it's just like
Ooh. Meanwhile, Sam, her eyes are open and she's looking right at me. Ooh.
I don't like it.
Well, one
She's-
of you has self-preservation instinct.
she do be looking directly at the camera, and while she is very pretty, I do not trust it. But more birds.
Or birds who eat hair out of the corpse boxes that, like,
There definitely was not hair sprouting from the like hinges of the box before. But now there is, and the crows are pecking at it because they are curious.
Curious Borb.
And then the burb explodes.
Oh, Borb.
This felt like the most corny like 80s horror movie moment to me because the bird pecks at the hair and then the little idol glows and then there's an explosion panel. I'm like, just did the gods shoot the bird?
That would be
Yes.
rude.
hey, this bird got off easy.
Relatively, yeah.
Because the next one we find out that I love how this one is framed because we just see this one guy like sweeping a temple by himself and he kind of looks up in the air pensively as if he's waiting for something. And we cut to this like work crew who are now on the side of a hill that looks suspiciously like that hill that's being developed for where those stairs are going to go in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And they see the statue of this god that they don't know. And the head of the work crew is just like, yeah, no, that head priest hired way too many guys for this job. Like, this is just a little statue. We can remove this no problem. I'll just hit it with my hammer. And he smashes the skull in, or the statue's head in, and it like dents. And there is just like a scream, and his scream blocks his face. And then we just see his face is contorting and like bulging and like breaking until it just
with the head dented in.
yeah. And then it just proceeds to explode in hair. Like his
Yep.
hair sucks inside his own head to then expand out rapidly in a giant explosion of blood and hair that leaves the top half of his skull open. And then there is just a crowd of crows flying out throughout the mountain. And then we just cut to the head priest just with the exact same injury befallen him, and it just ends on like the statue seemingly like laughing.
Uh-huh. What the fuck is this little idol, man? Why did he have to smash it? Couldn't they just pick it up and move it? Why do you have to break shit?
Well, so here's the thing. I think it's strongly implied that it's like rooted into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at it's hard to get a picture of it on its like on the ground, but it's like its base kind of flares out and goes down into the ground as if it's like a tree, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, look, she's smiling. What's the problem here? Ah!
She's smiling. Turn page. Ah!
What? That's just a normal face. I make
That's
that face all the time.
It's that toothless smile from the
The bald head reflected in the window. How old was I supposed to be to shave my head? Grandma, please tell me.
Please tell me. I don't know. I can't remember. This is like a Mega Man game where I need to cut my hair in the year 20XX. I remember that weird period of time where Super Nintendo games would be like, in the year 2000 and X. I'm like, you're really just leaving yourself open for 10 years there. What's going on with that?
But she's like, why can't I remember what year it was supposed to be? When was I supposed to do this? Hold on, let me call my mom. Beep, beep, boop, 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 boop. Mom, when was the weird hair ritual supposed to happen?
What the fuck do you mean weird hair ritual?
What are you talking about?
The weird hair ritual where grandma shaved me bald as a kid?
Grandma shaved your head? Why didn't you tell me that? That seems really odd.
Mom, why don't you know this?
Have you been doing okay at work, dear?
I would never lie to you. What?
I don't. Ah.
How do you not notice your like 8-year-old child had her head shaved? Like,
Seriously, bro.
Especially for like an 8-year-old girl. You don't notice her head was shaved at any point. Like, there's a long period of time before that looks like
Anything
normal.
remote, anything remotely approaching natural, yeah. And she wakes up that night to a vision of the same balding, toothless monster looming over her
That
in
also
bed.
might be her. It's unclear.
It's unclear. She flicks on all the lights and is just like, you know what? Screw it. If I'm supposed to cut my hair, I guess I'll just do it right now. Starts hacking away at her hair in the mirror. And then there's the monster right there in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
With the same haircut.
And like, this is the scene I was referencing earlier where I'm like, this isn't the same person. Because she throws her hair out into the garbage. And we see our boy Keita, who's like scaring away some crows that were eating garbage. And he sees a bag full of hair. Doesn't know where that is. He picks up a piece and he sees the crows are eating hair. He gets very scared and he kind of like flicks it away and walks away. But you see a piece of her hair has latched onto him as if that curse has followed him.
Yep.
And then immediately contaminates the girl he's having sex with. And I'm going to say, I was thrown off by this chapter because this is just really passionate sex for like 3 pages.
Yeah, this is just a straight up sex scene. Just outright.
I guess tasteful. Like,
Yeah,
it's right on the border of being tasteful, I guess. But it's not erotic. It's like that weird in between.
Yeah, it's not like
It's they're having sex is what the scene is telling. And then it's them kind of laying next to each other in bed having a very normal ass conversation. Like
a very normal ass conversation until he starts talking about ghosts and crows and hair. And she's like, dude, not great pillow talk. I'm gonna go take a bath. Hey, quit leaning on my hair. I can't sit up. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm not leaning on your hair. What? Huh. Anyway, want to join me in the bath? No, I think I'm just gonna try to get some sleep. Okay, well, I might be a while, so don't wait up. All right, he flicks on the TV. Something moves outside the window. He goes to look. Right as, oh, hey, remember that scene of a woman getting pulled under the bath?
here it is again.
Turns out it was this woman.
And the eye, not crows. And this and the bald smiley face character are all outside the window.
Mm-hmm. And this is also where we find out that this is Chifuyu. So
Yep.
She had whoever that girl who I guess we don't know the name of, who got her hair cut, her hair wound up on Keita, who transferred it to this girl.
Yep. So now she possesses the hair curse.
Grandfather to son, father to grandson.
And then we just have, it feels like the opening vignette of a Supernatural episode, I'm not going to lie. It's 2 guys going to a restaurant. They're like, hey, yeah, we'll go to the smoking section. Hey, look at that guy with the weird haircut. What is he, a samurai? That's crazy, dude. All right, we sit down next to him and look over, and why is there a second head coming out of the back of his shirt? What the fuck?
That's a face.
Well, it's the face of the ghost that showed up on the 3rd floor for not Keita, maybe Keita, we're not sure.
Uh-huh.
And I'm saying us, the 3 of us on this podcast, we're not sure. I'm sure if you read the manga much more clearly, you would know. We're just dumb.
We are.
I did not have the capacity to follow this during our reading.
Me neither.
Hey, the Between Chapter lady, she's had some developments.
Yeah, I'm not interested anymore.
I
wait,
think
actually, maybe.
she seems to have burnished her tomb because her hair is white now, like she's Allison.
Well, she's exactly how that one chick looks in when he's saying, my girlfriend's so cute, except she's really weird at night.
She just stares at me.
Oh
Why
my
did she
God.
stare at me?
Yeah, because no shit, that means that his girlfriend... God damn it. And yeah, the next page is the continuation of the thing we got in chapter 1, which is girlfriend stares at him.
Mm-hmm. And the second page, well, after the 2-panel spread of the extremely uncomfortable zoom in, that one it makes it more obvious that it's like the Wicker doll.
Yep. And it's splitting open. And you're like,
Mhm.
oh God. That means that doll has been turning into people. Like it didn't go into town
Yep.
and just start murdering. It just doppelgangered people's lives.
The eyes of the asker had better not see.
And then the in-between chapter is just revealing the full Wicker doll. And I hate
Yep.
this. I hate this page so much.
It's
It's
so
fine.
creepy looking.
I hate the optical illusion when you're scanning it up and down and it like looks like it's moving because of like the
Uh-huh.
interlocking lines. I hate it. I hate it so much.
It's like splitting open down the middle along the nose and the eye, and the mouth is just it's
And
got snake eyes.
it's full of hair. I hate it.
So much hair.
It's a hairy situation we're in, guys.
It sure is.
Yep.
So the crows make off with the box, and that's
Presumably put it in that
Nest.
nest to be found by the young boys to then be cursed by. Honestly, that is probably what's happening in volume 3 or one of the other continuing volumes is figuring what the fuck up was up with that cursed doll. The fact one of them has a soldier's hat on, I wonder if they're going to go into how that guy died overseas. Because it just weirdly feels like it keeps interconnecting things that weren't connected before.
There's just enough details to get you attached, without enough for you to have any idea of what's really going on, which keeps you reading. It's like maybe if I go one more chapter, I'll see. Like maybe it'll all fit together. And of course, it never does. Like, that's the point.
yeah, it's a big puzzle box of a story.
It just presents another mystery.
And thus brings us to the end of our reading. Normally here we do favorite character, but
There aren't any.
there's like 0.5 of one for the hair god, I guess.
I loved the number of characters I thought were different people, but then turned out to be the same person.
The same person, yeah.
But then turned out to not be the same person in one case. Oh, crazy.
So let's just go with what's your favorite of the vignettes. I it's kind of vanilla, but I really liked the one during the samurai period where the guys were sitting around drinking, telling ghost stories. Like that. That's a classic.
That one has the great turn to the audience moment where they're like, huh, it's weird how we're all telling the same different stories, but they seem weirdly connected somehow. And then there's just a pause as it's just like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. It had a good classic energy to it. Not to say I didn't enjoy the rest of this, but if I was just in the mood for some basic spooky stuff, that'd be the kind of thing that I'd want. How about you, Jake?
In all honesty, the one that hit me the most was the very first one. There's something about the whole aspect of like what do these characters know about the simple act of a haircut that I don't. I wasn't really used to the short chapters yet. So this introduction of it's like she's crying over a haircut, which is like it's like a normal thing, but like there's this implication of violence to it, And it's like, okay, where is this going? End. Just darkness. And something about that, like what do they know that I don't know, really pulled me in and gave me the vibe the rest of the story was going to like go for. And I feel it sort of like set the standard for all the rest to come.
An excellent choice. How about you, Matt?
I mean, there are some really good ones in here that are probably objectively better stories. But the one I'm going to pick that really struck a chord with me is the one about how you should be nice to crows because they have long memories and they can remember everyone who's ever wronged him. And you think, oh, cool, this is kind of weird. And it's the guy going around, and then he realizes, oh shit, no, those aren't crows. Those are beings made of hair and eyes.
Yeah. No, that one I really enjoyed that one too.
Yeah.
That was a good subversion of an otherwise very mundane sort of horror situation. You thought it was going to be Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, and then it became something very different.
No, and then it was just like, wait, hold on. Oh
Then it
no.
became Lovecraft.
Yeah. With that in mind, general thoughts on the story, the structure. Once I got a grasp for the structure, I enjoyed it. I like this sort of disassociated, bouncing back and forth idea. I appreciate it from an artistic standpoint. I'm not 100% sure that the manga did a tremendous job of it, but I am always excited to see somebody trying something new or something underexplored, and this scratched that itch for me.
Yeah, I forget if I mentioned earlier when we were talking about it, if how I felt about the first couple of chapters, but basically, I wasn't. I was really regretting picking this for like the first good chunk of chapters because I'm like, what is going on here? And I'm like, these are like vignette. I'm like, oh, this is an anthology series, and I'm like, oh, but it's really only like the buildup of each thing. There's no pathos, there's no payoff. They're not like little horror stories. And I was just like, what's going on? And then I forget which exact chapter we were at, but then it just clicked for me. I'm like, oh no, that's the point. Like, you are not getting pathos. You are not getting the relaxation. It's just building this like increasing dread and then immediately changes the channel because like the entire thing is essentially you're getting little bits of songs as you're skipping through the radio and you don't actually ever get a full story because you're just kind of seeking through and skipping around. And it's
Sometimes
just
you'll get a piece of a song you heard before,
Mhm.
but is it really the same?
Like, is it this cover? Is it a different thing? Like, it's what? But you don't get that because you're just getting like a broad sweeping thing as you're like channel changing, and like you never get that release of like, ah, yes, the monster killed someone, so that is the completion of the story, and I am
Mhm.
done. It pulls you into like you never get that payoff, so it's like a constant feeling of dread that just keeps building up through the book, and like the whole nonsense after each chapter where it went from a black face to these eyes slowly reaching up the thing and then swallowing
Yeah.
you whole, like legitimately was building like anxiety in me as I was flipping through. I Every time a chapter finished, I'm like, oh crap, that means yep, nope, hate this. Like
Here's the spooky face again.
It just keeps happening.
it's
Yeah.
still there.
Yeah, no denouement, to continue the radio metaphor, no beat drop, just constant build up, build up, build up, build up, and
It's just like an oppressive feeling of dread, which I feel like is kind of the point. Like this
Mhm.
valley is under some kind of dark god, and it is under this oppressing feeling of dread, and you are now witness to that as someone who's just kind of getting like snapshots of different people's lives.
Mhm.
The vibe I got from this when I clued into like the structure of the way the story works, was a couple of Halloweens ago, there was a trend of it was like 2 sentence horror stories,
Hmm.
and this has that same vibe. It's like I made a terrible mistake. If I knew it would hurt this bad, I wouldn't have asked to be cremated. Like things like that.
Hmm.
This has that kind of vibe where it's like it does so much with such little information. It is such a cool idea.
Hmm.
And I feel that the way that it weaves together also has an element of storytelling to it that I don't have time for. Oh boy, I am not decoding this. Not even close. I'm not even going to attempt. I would love to, but I can't.
I don't know. I think that's also kind of the point is like part of the dread is you not being able to just remember all the different pieces in order and like that's causing confusion. Cuz like the manga will definitely remind you when things happen, because they did have that one that just has a full-on flashback page in the middle to be like, ah, yes, this character from earlier.
I think
Mhm.
there was one chapter that was like, it was a previous chapter, but longer.
If I'm remembering the one you're talking to, I think the thing about that is that was a different woman. Like, the
I
same
think
thing is happening again with someone else. I might be thinking of a different one though.
Yeah, maybe. But
The point being, I think that's your answer for would you continue reading, Jacob?
so what may be a bit of a surprise is it's going to be a hard no for me. I'm actually not going to continue reading. Cool as this is, much as I'd love to piece this all together, I think I'm going to wait for the YouTube video essay decoding all of this for me because, like I said, I just don't have the time. I'm sure there's some level of beauty and artistry and horror baked deeply into the nature of the vignettes, the order they're told in, when they're told out of order, etc., etc. But like, man, I have a life, man. I just don't have time for this.
So you have the same opinion of this that I have of Fear and Hunger. Okay.
Oh, you've also bumped into the Fear and Hunger community.
Yeah.
That's an interesting experience. Boy, this actually has a little bit of Fear and Hunger like vibes to it too, doesn't it?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Do they eat a lot of hair in Fear and Hunger?
You eat what you can get in Fear and Hunger.
Okay.
But yeah, Matt, would you continue reading?
Oh, hell yeah. This was a nice, easy, breezy read, and it did what I want from a horror manga. It built an environment that makes me uncomfortable. It
Mhm.
made me feel tension and apprehension and dread. And this manga in particular really doesn't let up. And it
No.
and it wants to be marathoned is the thing. Like, the chapters end on like weird cliffhangers. And like the first volume, I wasn't even sure that was a cliffhanger until that comes up later, and I'm like, oh my god. Ah, like that was crazy.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take the middle ground between you two. I don't know if I would read this outside of the podcast. I would love to do another episode, but for the specific, like when I'm in a horror mood, there's other things that would fit the vibe more specifically. Though I did really enjoy the structure of this. I thought that it had a very interesting idea.
Oh, but that's the beauty of this, is the structure is just weird and off-putting,
Yeah.
and it's like it's not structured in the way that is like the most efficient way of storytelling, and that makes you uncomfortable because you're like, wait, hold on, who is this character? But that is the point, is that feeling of unease. And
Is this even a
Mhm.
character?
I live for that. And then you find out one of them is not that character, and that blew my mind. Just crazy nonsense.
Yes, with that, thank you everybody once again for tuning into the Over Manga Cast. As always, you can find us on all of your social medias, or we are at Over Manga Cast.
You can also find us on YouTube where you can like, comment, and subscribe. Our episodes go up there on a 2-week delay. So if you want to catch up on our up-to-date stuff, you can head over to overmangacast.com, even as a place where you can give us recommendations. Tell us actual horror manga to read for Spooky Month next year. What were some of your favorite vignettes from PTSD Radio? Whatever you want.
Yeah, and if you did send in recommendations for horror manga, which a couple people did, sorry, we planned our playbook for October early this year because we're dumb and ran out of time for episodes. But if you want to help contribute to us being dumb and running out of time for episodes, you can reach out to us over mangacast@gmail.com, where there are definitely no ghosts who are haunting our every words and eating our messages and doing ghost things, you know? You know what those ghosts do. But yeah, we appreciate reviews in any and all forms, so go out, speak out. And
Let your voice
hey.
be heard, lest it never be heard again.
So Sam, which eldritch tome are we reading from in the moonlit nights next week?
Ooh, I'm excited for this one because we're going to be returning to the Summer Hikaru Died, chapters 14 through 26. So make sure to tune in next week for that, and we'll see you all next Thursday. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.